Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. I have a Transformers Generations review for you today. This is Combiner Wars Onslaught. This is the Voyager class. He is obviously the middle section of the Gestalt robot Bruticus, one of the Combaticons. If you can see here on the picture on the back, and I'll try to zoom in, you have Blastoff, Vortex, Swindle, and Brawl, which I've already reviewed, and then here's Onslaught in the middle. I will try to zoom in and you can read his bio if you like. There you go. Whoops. Falling over on me. So anyway, I've had this guy for a while, and it's been a while since I reviewed the rest of the Combaticons. I just kind of got sidetracked with lots of other new stuff. So I do still have some other new stuff to do, but I thought this guy's waited long enough and I want to form Bruticus. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to bust this guy out of the packaging, and we're going to take a closer look. So here he is out of the packaging. Now, as most people can tell, this is a repaint / remold of Hotspot. It's kind of a mold brother there. But they did a nice job. I definitely think they retooled and remolded enough that it really does work as Onslaught. It doesn't really remind me all that much of Hotspot, except you can see he still kind of has the sirens here that they just painted purple for some reason. Other than that, it doesn't really feel a whole lot like Hotspot to me. But I love the colors on it. I think the paint they did a really nice job with. Now, when you first take him out of the packaging, they don't have the heels flipped down, so you want to go ahead and flip them down so he can stand. And also, he's got those same kind of weird triple jointed knees that Hotspot had, so you want to make sure that they're clicked in all the way to make it easy for him to stand. And I also went ahead and attached his two accessories. He comes with these two guns, which are the same guns that Hotspot came with, just gray. I think it's a lighter gray instead of a black or dark gray that Hotspot's were. And I've just gone ahead, and you can peg them in. They peg into the side of this whole contraption here, just to give him a more G1 aesthetic, because Onslaught always had those cannons on his back, and I always liked that look, so I went ahead and did that. But I really like the colors. I think they definitely nailed the kind of, military green, and this is the same kind of darker turquoise color that the G1 Onslaught was. I'm going to try to zoom in here so we can take a better look at his head and his chest. They did a really nice job on the chest here. The Decepticon symbol is really nice and sharp. The head sculpt is fantastic. Painted very nice. I love the dark red visor. It looks great. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of other paint on him, but he doesn't really need it. I mean, again, he's kind of the turquoise color as his main color. Got some dark grayish black and light gray here on the back. Then you have, panning down, a little bit of purple and gray here on the side. And then, of course, those sirens from Hotspot were painted purple, which doesn't look terrible. And then you have all the paint here on the top. So I think he's a nice-looking figure. I really do. I think it definitely captures the G1 aesthetic for Onslaught. So they did a great job there. Articulation-wise, very similar to Hotspot. You have I think this piece, now if I'm going to open this just to show you, this is how the transformation goes. This rocks in. So you can kind of rock that forward. It doesn't really click into place. There's no tab or spot there to kind of hold that into place. But I mean, if you want, you can make it look like he's nodding. Gives you a little bit more articulation there. Of course, the head does turn from side to side. You have a ratchet here in the shoulder. Then, of course, you have a swivel up here in this part of the shoulder. Then you have a swivel at the wrist, as well as a click there in the wrist. I'm sorry, the elbow. I don't know why I'm saying the wrist. You have this swivel above the elbow, and of course the elbow ratchet. Nothing in the wrist. The hands and the wrist are solid. In the waist here, you don't really have any waist articulation, but you have hips, which are very tight ratchets up and down and to the side. Then you have a thigh swivel. And then again, you have the weird kind of... there's 3 joints in here for the knees. Now, once you have it clicked in, it's very tight. And you'll get nice, knee movement there. And I'll show you how those joints work when we get into the transformation, because you'll have to deal with it. And then you kind of have just this little foot, which is, again, for the transformation. But if you want to pretend it's foot articulation, you can. And then, of course, heels in the back here. So, Overall, a nice amount of articulation, I think. I think it's a nice looking figure, and it really invokes the G1 aesthetic of Onslaught. So, I mean, just aesthetic-wise, looking at it with the paint and everything, I'm very happy with this mode. I think it looks great. But we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the transformation. So transformation for Onslaught is actually very simple and also very similar to Hotspot, if you guys remember his transformation. Going to go ahead and pop the chest plate open here. Just go ahead and rotate the head in there and then close it back up. He's got these two little pieces here that are going to flip up on the shoulders. And they almost kind of make like the cab section, which I'll show you in a second. Then the hands are just going to come up here. And you're going to see that they're going to just peg in so that's flush like that. Do that on both sides. And then you're just going to rotate these up. And then they're just going to come up and sandwich together. Now the fronts will click together, but you'll notice there's a lot of empty space in between there. And there's nothing to click together that's not going to touch 100%. That empty space is going to be in there. But this is almost kind of like the cab where if there were human pilots would drive this vehicle. I believe the directions, no, never mind. That's part of the other piece. So yeah, that's it for the front section. You're going to come around here to the bottom and fold in the back heels. And then this is where you're going to have to kind of unclick the knee joint. And it can be a little tight. But you'll see there's these weird like triple joints. And I'll try to get in, but it's hard to get light in there. You can see there's the joint where it touches this piece, then there's this joint, then there's this joint. So when you're doing robot mode, you want to kind of make this part, this joint, and again it's hard, there we go, get some light in there. This joint here is going to go straight in to this piece, and that's what locks in. Then in this mode, you're going to see there's a tab here on the side, and there's a little channel for it right there. So you're going to have to make it kind of collapse on itself so that it gets to be like this. That little tab will fit in the channel, and then everything will be kind of flush, and that's how you know it's right. So I'm pegging this, and then repeating that over here. Let me zoom back out. And you'll know, like, this is not in the channel, and I can tell it's not sitting flush. So there you go. Those tabs will fit in those little channels there. Then you're just going to rotate these 180 degrees. Very simple. And there's little tabs. This is going to be impossible to show you. Well, this will be all right. There's a little tab right there. Right where my finger is. And that is going to fit in between these two tabs right here. So you kind of have to get them in there while kind of simultaneously pegging these two together. It sounds more difficult than it is. Once you get it, then these are gonna peg together as well. And then you're just gonna fold these forward just like that. So that's pretty much it. You're gonna see this flap right here and just pull that down on each side. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple transformation. But I think it looks good. It's just kind of a trailer with a gun turret on the back, but that's really all G1 Onslaught was as well. So I think they did it justice. I really don't think they cheapened out or anything on the vehicle mode, because Onslaught's G1 vehicle mode was pretty simplistic as well. Now, folding these two pieces down on the side does let you get some play here as far as if you want to... You have to worry about the Bruticus head, but you can kind of lift it up, and I guess you can't really go from side to side as far as, you know, aiming the turret. So that's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. If you really want, you could take the guns off and you could peg them in on the side and the front here like this. So that's an option. So you have a little bit of play there as far as where you peg the guns in. But I believe they're meant to be pegged in up here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll go ahead and we'll get him transformed into torso mode. Alright, so I've returned him to robot mode just because it's a little bit easier to go into the Gestalt mode from robot mode. Basically what you're going to start, go ahead and hide the head just like the way you start out his vehicle transformation. But then you're going to come up here and kind of fold these out a little bit. And you're going to rotate this whole section 180 degrees. And then you're going to see there's two little tabs on this piece, and they're going to fold or peg into these kind of little indentations on the sides of where the smaller robot head was. So that's going to kind of peg in there. I'm going to try to zoom out here and get a little bit taller. Then this piece is going to rotate around, exposing the giant robot head. And as you bring this down, you can rotate these guns around 180 degrees. And if they come unpegged while you do that, it's no big deal. Just peg them right back in. So then you can already kind of see again, two cannons on the back with the giant robot head. Then you can bring this piece down, and this will kind of come down and fold down like that to form the crotch plate. You're going to come up here, bring the robot arms like that, and then you're going to bring them in. And you can see there's a little peg right here and a little peg hole right here. So you're just going to fold these in like that, and then they are going to peg in just like that. If I can get it to snap in. It's being difficult, of course. There we go. And then you're just, of course, going to do the same thing with this side. That went in a little bit easier. So there you go. Now, I did want to comment in the directions, which is a little weird, but I'll show you. In the last step, where's the directions for Bruticus? So, sorry if it's not focusing. It tells you, when you have the arms folded the way I have them now, it then tells you to rotate them down. But then again, it shows them the way they previously were in the final transformation. So, I don't understand this step, and if you have the directions, I would advise you not to do it. And I'll show you why in a second. But I mean, even over here, it shows you to leave them up. So it has them up, tells you to rotate them down, then has them up again. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I think that's a misprint or something's going on. Because you'll see here, there's a nice peg, kind of a long tab, and a slot hole right there that when you peg these in, that pegs in nice and tight, and it really makes them nice and sure. Now, you'll see in a second here when you got to pull these out and then pull this all back, and that's where you peg in the arms. So you have to open this to slide the arm in, but then when you close it back up, that pegs in and it gets really nice and firm. Like, it's a really nice job they did there. So I don't know why it would tell you to rotate this whole section down 90 degrees, because then you're going to lose that. So, and I don't think it looks bad at all to have it up here like this. It kind of gives them a nice heft. Makes him seem bulky and menacing. So I like it. Obviously, I would keep it this way. Coming down here to the legs, fold the heels in, and then you're literally just going to transform the legs like you're putting it back in vehicle mode, where you're going to line that tab up again and make sure it's flush. Just like vehicle mode, except that instead of turning 180 degrees, you're just going to turn it 90 degrees. And you can expose where the kind of purple and silver paint is. And then you can go ahead and just push these up simply like that, and then push that back into place. And then that's where you're going to be to connect your leg pieces. So here is the torso part of Bruticus. I think it looks great. I kind of personally would like the robot head to be gray, just because the original G1 head kind of was. Well, actually, to be fair, the toy was actually, I don't think the toy was gray. But on the show it was. Really on the show he was kind of all gray. And I did see pictures of the Takara version, and they're more cartoon accurate. But this is definitely G1 toy coloring accurate. So it just kind of depends which color scheme you like. I think it looks great. I'm going to go ahead and add the limbs. So here's Bruticus in all his glory. I think he looks great. It's a fantastic representation. I think they did all of the Combaticons pretty well. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the helicopter mold, but it's not bad, and it definitely works as Vortex. And, you know, the decision to make blast off a jet, I get it. It makes sense. In Japan, they did get a space shuttle, but I think it looks good. I mean, I definitely don't have any major complaints. I think all the colors work well together. It's very G1-esque. you know, they definitely did a nice job with each of the individual toys as well as all of them combined together. So I don't really have any complaints. He's got a little bit of a lean forward, but that's to be expected, especially with the arms kind of out forward. He's got a lot of weight there. You can kind of jam the waist piece like into the legs, and that kind of keeps, you know, it's in between the two bits of plastic, so that kind of keeps him straight instead of leaning forward a little bit. But I don't know how that would affect the plastic long term. So depending on how you're planning on displaying this guy, that might not be the best option, but I guess only time will tell. But overall, I definitely like the look of Bruticus. I think they did a great job with him, and I'm happy to have the full team out now, finally. So I think this guy is really great, and while it is, of course, my personal preference to have the guns on his back, he can hold them in robot mode, so you don't have to keep them on the back. Obviously, they do unpeg, and you can hold them. I think the guy's great. I think they did a nice job converting the hotspot mold to Onslaught. The paint looks great. The robot mode and the vehicle mode both look great, and the combined mode of Bruticus also looks great. So I really have no complaints. I highly recommend him if you have the other Combaticons. There's absolutely no reason not to pick this guy up, and if you're on the fence about picking up the Combaticons, I recommend him. Onslaught, at least near me, is still 100% readily available. I see him at pretty much every store I walk into. The Combaticons are a little bit harder to find now, but it's not impossible. So if you're on the fence, I definitely recommend it. Or if you're holding out, you can get the box set from like an online store of the Japanese version, because they do them all as one box set, all 5 together. And that paint job is a little bit more G1 accurate if you're more into the actual cartoon paint jobs and aesthetics as opposed to the G1 toy aesthetics. So the choice is up to you, but I definitely recommend picking up some version of the Combaticons because I think they look great. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like and share this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Combiner Wars Onslaught from the Transformers Generation line, and thanks for watching.